Good Monday, good morning, good Monday, good evening, I should say. Good morning, good evening. But the funny thing is, regardless the morning or evening, today is an unusual day and a sort of a special day, and we're going to discuss that at length. So I hope y'all are ready because we're going to get this party started. Hey, Val Wells, I see you. Thank you for checking in. We appreciate ya. Let's do this, y'all. All right, all right. Well, good evening, y'all. And in case you're wondering, the unusual title that I have given for today's show is because we're dealing with some unusual times and things are getting kind of hectic out here. They're a little bit weird, if you know what I'm saying. Gina Love, how you doing? Thank you for checking in with a brother. So, right quick, just off the top, apparently there is a young lady in Florida, Jacksonville. Her name is Diamond Ford. And Diamond Ford apparently is in jail right now because, similarly to Breonna Taylor, the police tried to serve her place with a no-knock warrant. And when her and her boyfriend were in bed sleeping, they heard a breaking of the glass, and she shot one of the cops. Lucky for him, he had on a bulletproof vest and was able to survive his wounds. However, they have arrested her and her boyfriend and, of course, charged her with attempted murder. I see you, Ms. Hill. Thank you for checking in. Jaquilla Hughes. Dana Brock is in the building. So she is now fighting. They have set her bond at $500,000. Now, in Florida, particularly in Florida, you have the right to defend property and life with deadly force if you feel that your life is in danger. Y'all know that same term that the police always use, whether they fear for their lives or not, to justify the senseless and usually unnecessary murder of unarmed black folks. Well, she was armed and able to defend herself in her own home in the middle of the night, in which apparently the 911 call that she placed to the police to let them know that someone was breaking into her place proves that she was afraid and in fear of her life, and in fact fired in order to protect herself. And I think that because the police decided that they didn't think it was necessary to announce themselves, what are you gonna do? I mean, we're living in, these are the times that we're living in. I don't know what people expect, and the law, and I'm a little tired of the gang in blue always being above the law. I'm a little bit tired of that. It's gonna come a time where everybody is gonna be tired. So moving forward, Brunella Johnson is in the building. How you doing? I see you, Regina Freeman. Bubba David Johnson is in the building as well. Y'all just checking on a brother tonight. I appreciate you, each and every one of you. Thank y'all for coming in. All right, so I was trying to make my mind up which one of these topics I wanted to tackle first. And I guess since we're all so desensitized with Twitter, it gets a little hectic, because I ain't gonna lie to y'all. You get to a point where you get tired of talking about this dude, but it becomes necessary sometimes, and here's the reason why it's necessary to talk about him tonight. And if you notice, the title of the show tonight is Christmas and the Insurrection Act. And the reason specifically I want to talk about Christmas and the Insurrection Act, the thing about the Insurrection Act is this. Now, everybody is in the news. They've been talking lately about martial law, Donald Trump, and invoking martial law. Well, here's the thing. he really has no grounds under which to invoke martial law. So that leaves another little thing called the Insurrection Act, which is a very broad sort of law. And what that means is that he is probably, and I got this information just so you know. I follow all sides of these topics, okay? Not just the side that, some people just want to hear one side, they don't want to hear the other side, and I have been guilty of that in the past, but for the most part, the people who live inside the bubble that believe that Donald Trump actually won this election refuse to acknowledge information or any type of truth or accuracy from anywhere else other than those outlets that they choose to use that reinforces the nonsense. And I guess the problem that I have with people is that how do you take the word on any level of a known liar, of someone who, these are supposed to be reasonable people? How is it that a person, not just one of those, politicians lie, I don't care what side they on, not one of those subtle, omit a little bit of information type lies. I'm talking about bold-faced, blatant lies, and you think that this person has enough integrity or common sense to continue to govern over an entire nation of people, 330 million of us, when this person is so damn unstable. And I don't care what your politics are. Instability is instability. But if there was a chance for him to try and maintain that office, there's this little thing called the Insurrection Act. Now, the Insurrection Act, and it was created in 1807, and it empowers the President of the United States to deploy U.S. military and federalized National Guard troops within the United States in particular circumstances, such as to suppress civil disorder, insurrection, and rebellion. So in other words, what they would be trying to state, and I get this, again, I get my information from several sources, and this is the mindset of those in the Donald Trump camp, people who support him and believe in him. They believe that this Insurrection Act, forget the martial law part, the Insurrection Act is going to give them a way in. Now, what that means is the last part that I read, which is such as to suppress civil disorder, insurrection, and rebellion. So in the eyes of these Trumpanzees, they think that what is taking place with a free and fair election in this country has been laid out by the Constitution and has been this way for hundreds of years is somehow a form of rebellion. And they hope that he will use this law, wrongly, of course, in order to try and maintain control. I believe that, for example, today, what's his name? William Barr, the sitting attorney general, who is actually about to leave office, came forward and actually said that the Russians were absolutely the ones who attempted or have hacked our systems in this country. That's not good enough, apparently. Along with the other Department of Justice heads and people who are involved in those levels of espionage and things like that have already clearly stated what the problem is and where it came from. But of course, that is not good enough. And so it always seems to be they have to make it about something else. And I'm not going to lie to y'all, we can make jokes and we can play around, but let's face the facts that in this country, half of the people who voted, almost half of the people who voted, we talking tens of millions of people believe in this nonsense. It's almost like throw everything out the window and the hell with what is supposed to resemble democracy. Now, just so y'all know, on January 6th, when the Congress, which is under normal circumstances, this would just be a simple formality, Normally, we would go forward and they would lock in what the Electoral College has already set up. They would just basically go through and confirm all of this, right? Well, apparently, on that same day, there is going to be a major march on Washington by some of these supporters of Donald J. Trump to voice their discontent with the current situation. Now, mind you, these are the same people who had everything in the world to say when black folks was out there protesting for their rights and the right to be equal and to receive justice. Now, all of a sudden, it's okay to march. But of course, we know when they march on Washington, they're going to try and do everything in their power to be armed and all sorts of other things. And it doesn't matter because I've always had a problem with people who continue to tell a lie for so long that they think that somehow, if they say it enough times and they say it loud enough and long enough, that somehow it'll become the truth. And the fact of the matter is, it's not going to become true. So at the end of the day, we're going to have to deal with all of us, unfortunately. And I hope that I am wrong again. See, there's times when I don't mind being wrong. There's times when I like being wrong. And when we talk about unrest, like we have talked about in the past on this show, particularly right before the election and right after, the one thing that kept unrest from becoming a real issue was the fact that I love how Donald Trump made it his business to say that the results were not accurate. So that left everybody kind of in a lurch, and it left people who were actually ready to protest and have a problem with everything that went on. It left them sitting there going, okay, wait a minute, we don't know what to do. So then it gave it time to die down, and everything kind of went back to being cool, which that's a good thing to me. So we were wrong about the potential for civil unrest. I mean, the potential was there, but it didn't happen. And I'm glad I was wrong. I hope that I am wrong again come January 6th when these people decide that they're going to march on Washington because they have lost. Now, these same people, and I have a long clip of several news reporters in particular from certain news outlets using certain language and talking real crazy about presidency and the things that are being done. And the funny part is everything that they're saying applies to Donald Trump, but they were actually talking about Barack Obama. It's like the hypocrisy in this country and the way people adjust themselves to what they want to believe is incredible. I just wish people could just be honest. Integrity and honesty are two things that this country is in sore need of. We have lost what used to be good men in our political system who actually had standards and who actually stood for something. Now it's a matter of what can I get out of it in order to benefit me. I mean, let's use William Barr as an example. So today he went against the president yet again, but we know he's on his way out of office anyway. But the fact is he stood up and had a little bit of fortitude and said what needed to be said. But my problem is, why would you wait until now? And I suspect that once Donald Trump is out of office, there's going to be a lot more of that. There's going to be a lot more people who are going to finally come forward and say, he lied about this, he did that, or he did one thing or the other. Now, we also know that coming up here pretty quick, the district attorney and the state's attorney of New York and I think it was one of the cities in New York, they're coming for him. And they should, because it's time for the shady business practices and all the other things that he has skated around and skirted around for all these years to come to light. You know, I just wished it had been done sooner. I wish these things had been exposed sooner. But, you know, no time like the present. The unfortunate part is that so much damage has been done to this democracy and the respect that was once due the highest office in the land and on a global scale, the respect that this country once had is diminished greatly. even if it was a farce to begin with. It's diminished. Jaquilla Hughes is Mr. Barr about yet? Well, I don't know if he's going to retire, but I do know, she asked, is Mr. Barr about to retire? I don't know that he's retiring, but I do know that he is out of the White House. In fact, I believe this is his last week or something like that. He handed in his resignation, and him and Donald Trump sat up there and did their mail bonding on national TV, talking about what great people they both were, and they were, he was going on about his way, but we already know Trump forced him out. So that's what it is. And that's what it's not going to matter. The days, it was obviously a retaliatory move by Trump because he didn't like what Barr said, because Barr, if Barr is probably one of the smartest ones out of this entire situation, which is unbelievable because there's a lot of idiots surrounding him, the yes men. The fact is, these same people forget that once Donald Trump is out of office, they still have to have careers. Now, unless they know something that we don't, and they're getting ready to pull the most heinous coup in history, they're all going to suffer in their careers behind supporting Donald Trump. The funny thing about it is that all of the things that he does and has done and gotten away with, the thing that they seem to forget is that he's the only one that can get away with it. Nobody else, you can't pull this off. You can't talk like him and regurgitate his nonsense and continue to play the games that come with the power that he has had for the last 4 years. The bottom line is you are not him. You don't have his star power. You don't have his support. And when this is all said and done, when he is finally out of office, heads are going to roll. And I don't think I'm wrong about that. I think there's going to be a lot more charges coming. Steve Bannon claims that he advised Trump on which direction to go with this. It just amazes me, the people that have been allowed to gain power throughout all of this. Now, here's yet another situation that's about to hurt really badly for him and for all of these accusations of fraud in this election. There's a lawsuit coming out called the Red Slime lawsuit. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Red Slime lawsuit involves the company who created and manufactures the software and the voting machines. Well, here's the problem. Fox News, Newsmax, OAN, and a few other of these accusers who have stated vocally in the media that these companies' machines have backdoors or faulty or have all these other, they've added all of these conspiracy ideas to what these companies are about. Well, they've forgotten these companies also have money, and they're not American, and they got plenty of time. And what they're about to do is sue every last one of these networks for libel. You cannot accuse somebody of something like fraud or any of those other things and hurt their business without it coming back to haunt you. So guess what? All of these news networks, if you can call them that, are now about to be sued. And I mean, they're going to get sued to the tune of potentially putting them out of business. Especially this new one that just started up, this Newsmax, who is taking over Fox News, because even Fox News is not dumb enough to continue spouting the lies to the degree that these other agencies are doing so. So in the end, this lawsuit could theoretically, metaphorically, put the genie back into the bottle. They can't continue making these statements and saying anything that they want to say without it costing them an awful lot of money. Who's going to pay that bill? Because the network's going to pay it. Is Donald Trump going to pay that bill for them? I highly doubt it. But these things have to play out. So, This is just yet another one of those situations. Now, I heard someone earlier today suggest something like invoking the 25th Amendment. Now, for those who don't know what the 25th Amendment is, that is where the vice president and the cabinet of the president make it clear that the president is unable or unworthy or out of his mental capacity to continue in his position and is a danger to the country. The suggestion has been floated. We know that's not going to happen, though, because the biggest problem with most of these people is that they refuse to admit that they're wrong. So they continue to ride this train and they keep doubling down on the nonsense because they are trying as hard as they can to save face. You got to understand, some people's egos are far larger than life itself. And they'd rather try to save face than to say I was wrong. And we have not yet once ever in the history of this particular presidency heard our president admit to ever having done anything wrong, being wrong, or making a mistake. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't give a damn whether you put a D behind your name or R behind your name. You are a coward when you cannot admit that you are wrong. I guess it's hard when you're wrong so damn much. But what are we going to do? What are you going to do about that? We can't do nothing about that. So, do y'all know what today is? Today, ladies and gentlemen, is the winter solstice. And that is the shortest day and longest night of the year. This is, in fact, if the show had come on earlier, I probably could have told you this, but if you went outside and you looked to the southernmost or southwesternmost part of the sky, if you were able to see stars, some people could, some people couldn't, you would have been able to see what is affectionately known as the Star of Bethlehem, which you only get to see every so many years. And in fact, the last time that it was easily observable was July 16th of 1623. It's 2020, y'all. The time before that was March 4th of 1226. So every few hundred years, the Star of Bethlehem, or what is affectionately known as the Star of Bethlehem, shows up. 2020 was that year. Now, this particular winter solstice, which is where we are right now today, December 21st, 2020, is where now the days begin to lengthen. And in fact, if you were outside today at say noon, this would be where your shadow would be the longest of any time during the year. And of course, like I said, it's the longest day. I'm sorry, shortest day of the year, longest night. So on tomorrow, each day we gain more seconds until we end up into June. I believe it's June, might be 23rd or something like that. I have to look at the date. But anyway, in June is when the summer solstice hits, and that's when the days begin shortening all over again. Wait a minute, I got a thing here. Let me see. There we go. Okay, so this will give you an idea. So the Earth's on its axis, and the way all of this works is that in a particular part of the year when all of the planets align themselves in this way. See, right now, Saturn and Jupiter are what make up that star. They align themselves with each other within 1 degree. And in fact, they are 456 million miles apart. But when they align like that, they look bright, and that is what they call the Star of Bethlehem. And of course, also in certain parts of the world, the sun only comes up. There's an area in Russia, I don't remember the name of it, that only has daylight up. The sun rises at 10 a.m. and it sets at 3:53 p.m. So they only have a few hours of daylight. And then there are parts of Alaska, of course, that don't get any daylight at all for the next couple of months. So just to give you an idea, Regina says, do you think we'll continue with daylight savings time? Well, Regina, I don't know, for the record, for those who don't know why we even use daylight savings time. Daylight savings time was put into the mix by, I think it was Roosevelt, one of the presidents. I can't remember which one, but they used it because of farming. Farming was the way to, they needed to use as much daylight as possible. So by bumping the time back, it made it where they could actually not use they could use the daylight the most accurately, because I think in the winter, the sun comes up earlier and it sets earlier. So by bumping the time back, it made it like a more reasonable hour so you could use business entities and do different things that you need to do during that time. Now, also, ladies and gentlemen, for those my astrology buffs, a lot of people do not know that we are currently leaving out of what is known as the age of Pisces and moving into the age of Aquarius. Now, I'm going to leave that with you so you can look that up and figure that out, because it is a very interesting thing when you talk about the ages and you start to understand how that applies biblically. And y'all know I stay away from the religious conversations on here as much as possible. And just as an example, while we're talking about the winter solstice, there are those, and I started doing my homework. I had done this before. I checked in to do my homework about Christmas itself, because I've always been, you start asking yourself, okay, where did this start? And y'all know I'm always wanting to know the origins of stuff, right? So the more I dug into Christmas, the more I find that there are an incredible amount of different stories about how Christmas began. Of course, we know what the religious idea of Christmas is, and, the birth of Jesus and so on. But there are those who equate that to the birth of the new sun, being the winter solstice, which is what we're dealing with now in the times coming forward. And there's actually, there was a guy named Julius I, who actually, he was a pope, Pope Julius I, as a matter of fact. He's the one who declared December 25th as the official birth date of Jesus, which was also during the same time as a festival called Saturnalia, which was a celebration of the winter solstice. So anyway, like I'm saying, my point is that it gets so deep until, and this was, by the way, this was in the year, this was around 337, the year 337, because his time in as a pope was actually kind of short. But he was the one who supposedly claimed what the birth of Jesus was. And of course, March 25th being the Passover, you have to understand it. Some assume that 9 months after that, like I said, it gets so hectic, man. It's so much stuff involved in why we celebrate it, why we use Christmas trees, and the fact that the lights on the trees were once candles and they had 24 of them because it was supposed to have been from the 1st of December to the 24th, but you couldn't put 24 candles on this tree or this wreath, so you had to, so they used 4, and it's a million stories. But it's that time of year, y'all. Now, the thing is this. I couldn't make my mind up. I was trying to decide what to do for Christmas myself, but couldn't figure it out. So I guess I'm not going to do anything. That's what I think. So, what are y'all gonna do for Christmas? What you got planned? Because we are in the middle of COVID-19. We are in the middle of a very difficult time historically. I hope that most of you are going to remain safe and not put yourselves in harm's way. And I know it's hard because we look at these holidays from our perspective in 2020 and from our lifetimes. And in doing that, we have certain attachments to these holidays and these ideas. And of course, that means family. It means, fellowship. For some, it means going to church and worshiping and all sorts of different things. So the question becomes, in all of that, unfortunately, many of us have lost a lot of loved ones. In fact, well, my wife lost a cousin to COVID this week. So we, again, y'all, this stuff out here, man, it ain't nothing to play with. Apparently in the UK, there's a new strain of COVID that is now out and about. And of course, we're going to have to be very, very careful about how we deal with that. Kim Taylor, I see you. Thank you for checking in. I see you, Valerie Simmons. My girl, Gina Love, Davy Davenport is in the building. Phyllis Harris, I see you. Love y'all. Thank you for stopping by. But we are, okay, my wife said he passed today. Yes, so he did. He passed away today. And with these holidays and so many people losing their lives, and a lot of times unnecessarily, because of everything that we could do to prevent and try and avoid these issues, I'm at a loss when it comes to all of these things. And to be honest with you, I'm one of those people. I've never been a huge fan of Christmas anyway. Call me Scrooge, call me whatever you want to call me, but I'm just not a big fan. I try to get into it. I got into it when the kids were young, but I'm an empty nester now, so they all over the place. They living their own lives, living their best life, doing what they do, and I'm happy for them, and that's a good thing. And of course, I don't want them to travel because I don't want anybody to become sick. I don't want to make anybody sick inadvertently. I would never do it on purpose, of course, but we don't know who has what, when, where, how, and why. And I ain't trying to figure it out. I like it like I like it. I can stay in here and be quiet, and I'll be perfectly happy. So, with all of that said, I'm not going to keep y'all long tonight. I just wanted to talk about our commander and thief and mention about, put a couple of bugs in your ear about this young lady, Diamonds Ford, down in Florida, because she's getting ready to be going through a thing. This is yet another fight we're going to have to deal with and contend with as it pertains to justice and injustice where black people are concerned. Because, of course, she was standing her ground, as you're supposed to be able to do in Florida, and protect yourself and your home, only to be attacked by the gang in blue. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been real tonight. I'm going to cut y'all loose and get me some dinner. But I appreciate you checking in and checking with me. Do your homework, like always. Check things out for yourself. Don't believe everything you hear. And don't even believe me. Like I tell you all the time, if you hear me say it, don't trust everything I say. Look it up for yourself. Check it out. See what it is. Because the information is available. This is 2020, not 1920. We have access to all sorts of information. And all you got to do is look. It's there. Even if you don't like what you see, it's there to be found. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get up out of here. Y'all have yourselves a fantastic evening. We will probably not be doing a show on Wednesday. I'm going to let everybody enjoy their holiday, and we're going to come back after the holiday and kick it real hard. And I'll have something really good to talk to you about. bring a little history to the forefront, and talk about the possibilities for the future. Because y'all know I love the possibilities. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. This has been The Black Factor. Peace out.